All right, sports fans, how's everybody out there doing? William Martin coming at you one more time here on YouTube with another edition of the 300 Pounds of Sports Knowledge podcast. The imposed Tuesday trade deadline by the Indianapolis Colts to trade Pro Bowl running back Jonathan Taylor has come and gone, with the disgruntled ball carrier still with the franchise. Last week, the Colts gave Taylor and his agent permission to seek a trade partner, which in turn became the latest sucker move by the franchise. There are reports circulating that the Colts were seeking a first round pick in exchange for Taylor, which in itself would be lunacy. Nobody is giving the Colts, or any other team for that matter, a first round pick for a running back in the current NFL. Hypocrisy at its best, as what we're seeing, as we're at this point, because the Colts don't pay Taylor, but yet and still they want to be compensated for him via a trade, like they're willing to give him $20 million per season. And that the Colts never wanted to trade Jonathan Taylor. As to me, in my opinion, this smells of a team just trying to take away the prime of this young man's career in order to make him miserable. Jonathan Taylor does not want to be with the Colts, and the Colts don't want Jonathan Taylor. And by the Colts holding on to Taylor, they are doing themselves a huge disservice, because they still have this distraction about the scenario lingering around, while you're failing to move on and build towards the future. You got a young quarterback and Anthony Richardson that you need to focus on putting a team around. And obviously, you don't have Jonathan Taylor, but let's say, hey, let's go out there and try to see what picks or we can get back, or what players we can get back for him, and keep building and going forward around Anthony Richardson. And for me, all of those people who want to turn a blind eye to the current situation that the running backs are dealing with in the NFL, just look at what's going on in Indianapolis, because Jonathan Taylor, right there, for right now at least, is stuck there. And I say that because there's a possibility that if he's still on his team come next year, he could be franchised. And it's just a very unfortunate scenario, because, again, you know, the shelf life for a running back in the NFL is so limited. He has 3 seasons under his belt. He's 24 years of age, and he needs to go out there and get at least the one opportunity that he's going to have to try to go out there and cash in for his playmaking ability, and now he's not having it. And this, to me, is gonna be bad, because you look at it, Taylor's gonna begin the season on the pup list, and there's still a chance that he can be traded prior to the trade deadline on Halloween. And hopefully, if you're the Indianapolis Colts, cooler heads will prevail between now and then. You move on from Jonathan Taylor, you get some draft compensation back, and just call it a day. You look at it again, if the Colts decide to franchise Jonathan Taylor, which would be totally stupid, but they could do it, be right back to square one, because they're not going to pay Jonathan Taylor what he wants. And if you're telling me that you're holding out hope that you can get a first round pick for Jonathan Taylor, good luck, because it's not happening. And to me, again, this just falls into the lap of Colts team owner Jim Irsay, and this is another bad look for him. We saw him open his mouth earlier this summer as far as the whole running back situation going on in the National Football League, and now the way that Jonathan Taylor has been treated by this Colts franchise is just totally deplorable. So, of course, the question is going to be, will Jonathan Taylor be traded? I'm not here to say yes or no, because I really don't know. If this was a different franchise, maybe. But, Jim Irsay and the Indianapolis Colts, they do things a little bit differently. And they might try to hold on to Jonathan Taylor out of spite. And I don't know what the Players Association can do about it. But the bottom line is, this is just a bad look right here. And I think the Jonathan Taylor situation, what has happened, this summer with the Josh Jacobs and Saquon Barkley situations as well, obviously some language has to change in the next collective bargaining agreement. Maybe it's a scenario where, the franchise tag excludes running backs. Maybe it's a scenario where the franchise tag can only be used once on a running back. I don't know, but obviously something has to give because you're talking about a guy in Jonathan Taylor who is just 2 years removed from tearing up the league. We're talking about a guy who led the league in rushing in 2021 with more than 1,800 yards on the ground and 18 touchdowns. And this guy was a Pro Bowler. He should have been an MVP candidate, in my opinion, for what he did. And now heading into the final year of his rookie deal, which he is far outplayed. The Indianapolis Colts were counting their pennies when it comes time to trade on to pay him rather. And this is how and why we got to this scenario. So I'm not sure what's going to happen. The bottom line is for Jonathan Taylor to get the payday that he's seeking, he's going to have to go and get it elsewhere. But the other problem is the longer that he stays with the Indianapolis Colts, the less value that he has because guess what? Teams out there are going to say, hey, you know what? He's a little bit older. He's got more mileage, and he's not going to go out there and get the payday that he's currently seeking right now. It is a bad time to be a running back in the NFL. This situation is just another clear illustration of that. And like I said before, hopefully cooler heads will prevail, and the Colts will say, hey, you know what? It's better for all parties involved to just cut bait and move on. Let Jonathan Taylor continue his career in another NFL city with another NFL team that will be more than happy to compensate him the way that he's seeking to be compensated. Obviously, they're not going to give the Colts a first round pick, but they probably would still give him a second or third uh, for Jonathan Taylor. But nonetheless, if you're the Colts, it's just time to move on, cut bait, focus on your future with Anthony Richardson, and let Jonathan Taylor continue his NFL career someplace else. So, folks, that is going to wrap it up. And as always, I want to take this time out to thank you for tuning into the 300 Pounds of Sports Knowledge podcast here on YouTube. I want to take this time out to thank all of you fine folks out there for tuning in. And if you have not already, please feel free to subscribe to this channel. Now, if you're on Twitter, please feel free to follow me at 300 Pounds of Sports. And like I always say, if you follow me, it'll be my pleasure to follow you right back. There's also the sports discussion group on Facebook at the Sports Depot 365. Now you can check it out. Drop a line and be a part of one of the better sports debating sites going on social media. Once again, fine folks, my name is William Martin. I'm signing off, and I'm saying take care and have yourselves a wonderful day.